And welcome to Houston Newsmakers Extra. We've been talking with Dr. Stephen Nelson, Instructional Associate Professor of Sociology at the University of Houston, studies social psychology and deviance. Thank you, Doctor, for continuing our conversation here. One of the things we're talking about on the program is how people in groups tend to believe so much alike. And kind of, you talked about how being a part of a group is kind of important to all of us, is it?
It's absolutely important. For the entire history of our species, about the worst thing that can happen to us is being kicked out of our group. So we quite naturally will do whatever we can to stay in groups, and we get lots of perks from that. Groups are sources of resources and information, and we would do pretty much whatever we need to do to stay in those groups.
And that includes if we kind of believe similarly to somebody else and we find ourselves believing the same things and we can make a group of it, even if the information we believe may not be provable or may not even be true, we still kind of are holding on to that group concept, are we not?
Absolutely. And so many of the things we believe are basically unprovable anyway, but we stick to them. I think just through history that all the different societies with their different superstitions and beliefs about the afterlife, the real issue is to agree on them and have things that make us feel part of the group, the us part of it. That's what it's about.
One of the things I know as we were preparing for this segment, we looked at the Netflix series on dictators and things like that. They seem to have there seems to be a playbook for anyone who wants to have large groups believing what they want them to believe. There's kind of like a number of things that they kind of all have in common, is it not? That they just want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, if you want people to believe you, whether you're telling the truth or not, you want to, first of all, be a part of their group, right? Make them believe that you're one of them, that you share values, that you share an identity. So that's big. Another thing that you might do is speak with confidence. We, for whatever reason, seem to believe people who seem confident more than people who don't. And by the way, this is a problem because there's no relationship between the confidence that people have and the actual information that they have. In fact, people who are experts on things tend to be a little bit humble about it. And that means that we fall prey to charismatic leaders like the dictators you're talking about, or maybe even mysterious, shadowy folk heroes like Q, right? We need something to fill those truth voids since we no longer trust our institutions.
When we talk about the dangers of these social groups across the country and the world that are clashing and coming up in different numbers, believing things that aren't true, and just all kinds of things that are negative, what can be done about trying to cut through some of that? Because it seems like once the horse is out of the barn, so to speak, the challenges are great and they become even greater the more that it's not corral. And on our program, you talked about the need for media perhaps to take a better role in helping to bring people together instead of bringing people who are conflicting. But unless there's a source that brings that starts that conversation, it seems to me that this is a real heavy lift to get this done, is it not?
It's a huge heavy lift, and there are so many motivations to keep us at each other's throat. There are algorithms on Facebook that put things on it that make us angry at each other rather than bring us together, because that increases our eyeballs and it increases the eyeballs on the screen and increases their money, right? So there's a lot of problems there. But this has to be fixed first by coming together. You know, when you're actually spending time with people, it's a lot harder to characterize them as the enemy. And frankly, when we're not together, when we are having conversations from one group to another group that doesn't trust each other, there's no amount of argument and facts that can push through what is ultimately an identity a stance. You have to share identities first. You have to first say, we are we. We are together. We have similar goals and values and hopes for this shared experience, this shared community. Mm-hmm. And when people start believing that, then they're more open to hearing different facts and to start, incorporating those into their worldview.
Fascinating, fascinating. Dr. Nelson, thank you for your time. I appreciate you and appreciate your background on all of this to help us get through some of this. And hopefully we, as a part of the founding members of the Eternal Optimist Club, you and me, we will hopefully be able to be a part of seeing some positive things happen. Dr. Nelson, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Share this with everybody you know.